I don't know if this was asked or if you already explained this one before, but what exactly is the tie-up you're looking for with QFIS?
Could you say that again?
What exactly is the tie-up you're looking for with Qatar?
What's the tie?
Here, well, I think we talked about that, and Richard can answer that question because he came out with exactly what we should be looking to do with the faculty. Richard.
Yes, it's our first visit, and we're very delighted to be invited. So partly you have to understand that it's a learning exercise for us, but we have initiatives in comparative jurisprudence, in scholarly activities, but particularly in Islamic economics and Islamic finance. We have programs in the UK and thought leadership events which we would like to have mutual engagement with, particularly sharing the experiences of both the staff and the students here. We also have it in mind to seek opportunities for development of internship and student exchange through the Islamic institutions in United Kingdom. We have a number there, whether they are our accountancy bodies are very keen, and our major accountancy firms are very keen to establish internships. The Islamic banks in the UK and others. So we wanted to have an exchange. We have already two of the Qatari Islamic banks have either subsidiaries or strong shareholdings in British Islamic financial institutions. So there's a natural business tie as well as an international or a national level economic tie. Britain and Qatar are very closely tied economically through all kinds of projects such as the gas and other areas, but for centuries we've been close in business. So fostering ties in the field of Islamic finance is a natural progression from the existing activities that we already engage in. And we know already that we were hearing today that the faculty already has developed its own programs in the United Kingdom with Oxford and elsewhere. So we just seek to see if through the City of London we can look for practical exchanges, practical developments that will be mutually beneficial to the City of London financial district and also to the development of the financial centre in the GCC, which is Qatar, which is an inspiration to many people.
As a matter of fact, internship is a mandatory part of our master's degree, and that's why this represents a great opportunity for our students to fulfill these requirements with the cooperation we are looking for, and I'm confident it's going to come with the city in that direction.
Do you have a date in mind and when you're going to start it, this program?
We thought today would be good. We began our discussion today, so Qatar isn't one of these countries which is slow in completing its objectives, and I'm sure that under the patronage of the various people and the enthusiasm for the UK, I'm sure that will be a very quick resolution. It's not something that's going to drag.
Did you talk about how many students are going to take part in this internship program?
I think nice let some of the students have a go. You're all the media, so that's absolutely right.
Okay, if our students, I know that we didn't manage to get, because our students are working, all of them in the banking and finance sector, so they didn't finish working yet, but we managed to get some of them. Any questions from
I have a fundamental question. What is the main reason behind the increasing interest behind for Islamic finance?
I can say one reason: the absence of liquidity in conventional marketplace.
Well, exactly. This is what I'm coming from. Is after the economic crisis, GCC capitals will remain the main exporter of capital. The capital started to move east than west. well, does Islamic finance represent an opportunity to keep this liquidity moving to West?
It's Islamic finance is not a new phenomenon in the West. 30 years we've been doing it in London, nearly as long in the United States. The Islamic banks in the United Kingdom and developments in the West started long before any economic crisis. And we have a substantial Muslim population in the United Kingdom, there's a substantial Muslim population in Europe, there's a domestic demand, and there's a long-standing international demand for Islamic finance in the West. I don't think it is fair to say at the moment that the GCC provides the West with, certainly not these days, with a major source of potential economic capital. If I was looking to launch a sukuk for a Western corporate, it wouldn't be the GCC to whom I first came at the moment. They would most likely be Malaysia, because there's more liquidity and tighter pricing. So the idea that the development of Islamic finance in the UK is some way of tapping the GCC market for liquidity would be quite wrong economically. It's a very different story. My bank is owned by Kuwaitis, two of the banks in London are owned by Qataris, and the other one, Bank of London Middle East, is partly owned by is owned by Kuwaitis primarily, but also has some public ownership. So a lot of it is publicly owned, or the capital in those banks is already GCC. So it isn't, for those banks, that story. There may be international banks who are mistakenly developing Islamic finance as a new part of their business with that objective in mind. That may be the case, but that's not the story of Islamic finance in the West. There are always opportunists and carpetbaggers who will see a different opportunity, as you say, but it isn't the real story behind this at all.
So
it's a much more fundamental development.
Another question, sorry. Who's the main player of Islamic finance here in GCC? Do you think it's Dubai or Bahrain? Or KSA?
Well, actually the main
You're on camera, you're on camera.
No, that's fine. The main player is Saudi Arabia. They have the largest and strongest of the engagements with Islamic finance. That is a fact in terms of numbers. Bahrain is the first of the offshore centres anywhere to recognise the development of the Islamic regulatory structures. The Bahrain Monetary Agency, a long time ago, when they set up their Islamic finance, Ronnie, you probably remember what year it was. In the 70s, yeah, when Anwar al-Khalifa set up that model. They can claim a leadership role in corporate governance and regulatory, and the setting up of AOFI there is important. Malaysia was going, forget the GCC, Malaysia was running that parallel program. Dubai came late, but came strong. Dubai Islamic Bank, Qatar Islamic Bank, these banks all came just after Islamic Development Bank to the market. From 71 to 76 were the golden years of new banks opening up. So the time was much the same, but Bahrain took that regulatory grasp. Dubai came much later, but it came strong. So they have different, and at the moment you can see in Qatar and Dubai and Bahrain, they're balancing their interests, looking through the financial centres at different aspects, different asset finance, insurance, different ways. So they all have an equally strong role to play. And Qatar, of course, with the Islamic banks, the first international Islamic bank, Qatar International Islamic Bank, really. So Qatar has played a leading role in internationalisation of Islamic finance.